Hi, so in this video, I'm going to show you how I turned this to this. Let's begin. Today, as you know, we are going to be drawing Kaveh, or as I know him, Sumeru's baby girl. I tried to actually draw this initially and I hated it. He looked way too much like Italian waiter hitting on you. It just wasn't the vibe today. Sometimes that is the vibe. Today is not one of those days. So we begin with the circle of life. Isn't it kind of cool how like life is cyclical? Wait. And then we draw a line in the middle of it and another ball sack. Well, this is something I see other artists do. I don't think it's working out for me very well. It's supposed to give me an understanding of where the flat side of the head is. I always end up ignoring it, even though I put it there initially. And also it makes me draw the head way too wide in the beginning. I'm going to try practicing it though, because I feel like it could be a really helpful tool for me. I'm just not. It's user error is basically what I'm saying. Speaking of more information, that's also why I'm drawing the face shape first. Like, I'm just trying to establish the area in which I can draw on, just so that I'm not drawing an eye on the forehead or something like that. I've done that before. I've liked it before. Also, in the theme of feeling pretty and fancy, I wanted to give Kaveh this over the shoulder moment type of scenario. So that's what you can see me doing here. I also realized that I have completely forgotten what a shoulder looks like. Ever happen to you? In my mind, I'm thinking that he's a little bit bent over in the area of the picture that you don't see. He's bent over a little bit, hands on his knees mayhaps, and twerking. That's the area of this painting that you don't see, and I'm not going to show it for your own good. Here you see me flipping the canvas expertly back and forth because there's just something so wrong with this. To me, I could only compare flipping the canvas to killing a spider with a shoe. You really don't want to do it because you know it's gross under there, but you have to lift the shoe and look at it just to make sure it's dead. So it's a little bit petrifying, but you have to look at it for your own peace of mind. Kaveh looks like he has higher cheekbones. I would imagine that he does. That's what I wasn't getting from this. She wasn't giving high cheekbones. Today we need high cheekbones so that when she smiles, you'll know she's a menace. And yes, I mean, usually people, when they start with the eyes, they'll start with the top lid. I like to go from the bottom to the top, because I'm a fucking rebel and there's nothing that you could do about it. Are you afraid of me? Are you scared? Are you threatened because I draw the bottom of the eye first? The way that I do my sketches, even though they're like really messy and it looks like, how could anyone understand this? I understand it. I do my sketches in the way that I understand. It gives me information rather than cleanliness, and I prioritize that over anything. I guess that comes also from just like a lack of experience because I'm a self-taught. I don't have any real foundation in this entire thing, and coming from traditional going into digital, I take a lot of these like bad habits with me. My line language is basically at this point of the sketch. I was getting like a little bit frustrated. I would count this as part one of my frustrations. So I go in with a liquefy tool. I'm like, I think this needs something stronger. Let's bring out the tequila, aka the hand selection tool. I'm like, yes, this is perfect. And then my fucking iPad crashes. Actually, no, it ran out of battery. It was already giving me the warning, but I kept ignoring it. This is my fault, but I'm mad at the iPad. Art is so easy. It's so easy. Back in with the selection tool, moving this in just a little bit closer. Also moving the eyes. Oh, there she is. Oh my god, she's so cute. Maybe I add a little bit down here. Nope, that's Shao. I'll also add like a nice little flippy moment of the hair right here. Ooh, that's nice. That scratches a niche in my brain. I just hope I don't forget to color it later. Speaking of what makes Kaveh distinguishable and what I feel like would separate him from looking like Albedo or Lumine is the little quill or feather or whatever that's in his hair. I think it's gorge. Now that that's done and I'm feeling confident, I'm putting everything into one layer, duplicating that. And then the first layer, that is my line layer, I'm going to turn it into a multiply layer. I'm going to grab the very reddest of reds and brush that over my line art. And to adjust that even further, I'm going to go into hue and saturation brightness. You don't see those sliders because my screen is cut off because the ratio is different from how I screen recorded this. And that's my bad. To start off the coloring process, I'm going to select something a little bit dull as a base color. This is for the skin. I also add this green background here for now, but that's going to go away in a second, so don't get too attached. Adding dimension to the skin, I'm going to start with a more saturated pink. I'm going to stay in the actual base color and just change up the saturation and the value. Like I said, I'm not really working off of any other reference other than the anime reference. So much of this, I'm just kind of going off of my own mental library, which isn't that robust, unfortunately. I feel like blending it out, really like softening those edges, except if you're doing like hard shadows and stuff, can really like bring the entire art piece together because it all looks 3D. People will usually save the highlight around the latter parts of the painting. I like to add it early on. Delayed gratification, you say? Maybe in other things, but in art, none for me, thanks. Remember that marshmallow experiment with the kids? I would be the kid that would eat the marshmallow while the interviewer is there. Like right in front of her face, I'd eat it before she even finishes the instructions. Oh no. I feel like that says a lot. Actually, oh no, I'm gonna cry. Also, when it comes to color, I still struggle with this a lot. It's difficult for me to understand which colors really go well with one another, and that's why with my very basic knowledge of color theory, I try to implement those things. It doesn't always work out, but I guess that's what I am practicing when I do these portraits. I'm trying more and more to be more aware of the colors that I'm using and seeing if they go well together, if they're pleasing to my eyeballs, because if they're pleasing to my eyeballs, maybe they will be pleasing to yours. And that's why digital art is so incredible to me, because it allows me to explore color theory without getting punished too much. When I tell you that I struggled with these eyes, I mean, I would just be telling the truth. I struggled with this for a good 30 to 40 minutes. I just could not get it right. There was something about it. And it also just kept staring at me, but not staring at me enough. So I took a little bit of a break, which is much needed. I went back over the eyes. I tried to draw it as best as I could. And when that didn't help, I went to my emergency stash, which is highlights. Just add highlight. It'll make everything better. Not only does highlight bring so much life to your details and what you're trying to make, it's also just so satisfying to paint. Anyway, I still hate these eyes, especially this one. I thought, right? And then I look at the other eye and I'm like, I hate this even more. Here I start to paint over the feather as well with a color that is much too similar to the background, and I'm only noticing that now as I'm editing. There are times when you want to keep polishing the turd even though you know it's still going to turn out to be a turd, and then there are times when you should just cut your losses, and I chose my battles wisely. I feel like with this portrait, it ends with the feather. Here I also start adding more detail to the hair, trying to speak some sort of language with it, as in, oh, this is in the dark and then this is in the light. I think that the background that I had before looked like it was turning the color into something I didn't like, and I know that as a general rule, painting on a stark white background is not only straining to your eyes, but it's also just like not advised generally, because the tendency is that when you just have white, you're not coloring as saturated as you're supposed to. On a separate add layer, I'm going back over the highlights and just trying to reinforce them once again, also adding new ones, also adding lashes to this eye. This part of the painting is just like refining it, adding more detail. Oh yeah, I did eventually move this eye. Nearly forgot. I did move it. I will say, admittedly, there is a method to the madness of highlight and shadows. There are general rules that just make sense. And then there are times when, even when it doesn't make sense, it kind of makes sense. So that's why there are highlights in certain portions here, like around the eyes, between the eyes and the hair here. I also added highlight at the very side of the nose, but mostly it's like I just stylistically want there to be some separation between the hair and the face. I don't want it to be just the color. You can make a choice here to just darken the side of the face to show that separation. I think traditionally that would make more sense. In my eyes, it looks much better if it's a highlight. On a new multiply layer, I dropped this blue grayish color over it, washed it over the entire painting, and I played around with the opacity of that. I wanted there to be some shadow so that I can direct the focus to the face. I didn't want to set like a full vignette. I didn't want to set an entire vinaigrette and just have the face at the center, just because of the direction in which the pose is, and so I wanted to follow in that direction by putting the source of light where I had originally thought it would be. And the way I plan to add light is is on a separate layer, an add layer, I was going to wash it over with some orange. Something I noticed in the edit of this right now is I made a mistake in the way that I shaded the shoulder that is in the forefront. This is probably a good exercise when it comes to understanding shadows. Soft shadows are more for rounder kind of areas, so it shows that something is rounding off. Harsh shadows do the opposite, where it just looks like an edge. I mean, this is good. This is a learning experience for me. I'm noticing now that I should have rounded out that shoulder because shoulders are round. It looks like a Ziploc bag. Anyway, in the final stages of this painting, after merging all of the layers, I went ahead and adjusted the hue, brightness, and saturation again. At the bottom here, it's a secret. In a separate multiply layer, once again, I have 1,000 layers all the time. Don't worry about it, okay? It's my problem, my cross to bear, and my layer to layer. I'm gonna go for this bluish, sort of like almost at the middle part of this circle in the color wheel, and I'm gonna use that as shadow, like a glaze over the eyes, just to add some dimension to it so it looks like a sphere, and also because naturally there will be shadow under there, and I just think it makes it look more realistic and almost a little bit intense, really. And this is part of the painting where we stop because we know that there's nothing else that needs to be changed here. As someone that creates, you have to know when it's time to fold. Okay, stop. Okay, stop. This is the part where we stop. Here is a time lapse of the painting that we just did, because if you can watch something once, why not watch it again, but faster? And I'm just gonna zoom. There you go. Perfect. Okay, so thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And this is the finished painting of semi-realistic, I don't know, art style, my art style, sort of. Maybe you picked something up from it. Who knows? This is part of my journey in me trying my best to redraw my art or relearn art. And as a self-taught person, okay, we're moving and we're grooving. On my way to making a webcomic. That's my project. That's what I want to do. And that's what I'm practicing. Okay, calm down. See you guys. Bye.